Welcome to Real Gear Talks. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the Victorinox Officer Mechanical, reference number 241370. I'm also going to be talking a bit about Victorinox, the brand, its history, and a bit about Victorinox watches in general, while actually also taking a closer look at the watch. So I'm going to start off by giving a brief background, a brief history on Victorinox and Victorinox watches. So Victorinox was founded by Karl Elsener in 1884 in Ibach, Switzerland. And fun fact, the name is a contraction of his mother's name, Victoria, was very important to him, and inox, which is obviously the international word for steel. And at this point they were producing primarily knives, cutlery. In 1891, they were made the official supplier of knives and cutlery to the Swiss military. But it wasn't until 1989 that they actually started producing wristwatches. In 2002, they opened and created a new factory in Ibach, also where their headquarters are located. And today, they produce a fair number of watches. They mostly all use ETA movements, or ETA movements, depending on how you say it. They are obviously Swiss made, and in their lineup there's really a large variety of styles. There's, dress watches, there are dive watches, there are aviation watches, racing watches. There's really a large variety of watches. And so now what I'm going to do is actually give you a closer look at the Victorinox Officer Mechanical itself, and just give an overview of the watch. The first thing I'm going to be addressing about the watch is the proportions of the case. And that is really one of the biggest things that I really appreciate about this watch. Now, I have measured these myself with a caliper. The case size is 40 millimeters, which again is really pleasant to wear. The case thickness is 10 millimeters, which again, they've done a really great job on that. And the lug width is 20 millimeters, which again is really a great size, and that is really nice because if you want to put it on a NATO like I've done here, it's really easy. And if you have, most people have other 20 millimeter NATOs if you're into that, so it makes it easy to swap around without having to get other NATOs. And of course you would expect a 20 millimeter lug width on a 40 millimeter case, but I'm just emphasizing that. And while I was on that, why don't I show you the bracelet that the watch came with. So here's the bracelet, and I have to say that it really feels very nice for the price. The gray market price of this watch is about under $300. If you're on Amazon, you can order it for about $270, I believe. And for that, it's really a steal, as I'll talk about later. And the bracelet is all solid links. End links are solid, which is really nice to see at this price point. We can see here that it has been signed there with the little crest. Again, just nicely done, very tasteful. And you can see here that it is mostly all brushed, which is really nice in my opinion on bracelets. I really do like when they do that, except these little sections here that are polished. So again, it gives it that a little bit more refined look while still maintaining kind of the utility and durability of a brushed bracelet. Obviously scratches will not show up as easily. And that is the deployment mechanism, And again, everything feels very nice for the price, and just nice in general, to be honest. I think it really compares with watches with a much higher price, and the deployment feels very sturdy, very good, very solid. But for a watch like this, I prefer to have it on a NATO, a leather, maybe a Perlon, something like that. And in this instance, I think that this NATO really complements the watch. So now that I've kind of gotten that out of the way, I'm going to be talking a little bit more just about the watch, kind of the main basic attributes of the watch just the highlights, I guess. And this is really where I formed my opinion on why this watch is a great buy, and that is that the crystal is sapphire. Now, it is AR coated, but this light above me is very harsh, so I do apologize for that. The movement that the watch uses is a ETA 2824-2. It's not a higher grade version. Obviously, it's the basic. I'll show you here the case back in a minute, and you can see that they've really not done much to it except for sign the rotor. I'm gonna transition a little bit here and talk about the case. The first thing I'll address here is the crown. The crown is not screwed down, unfortunately. But the watch does, however, have 100-meter water resistance, which I really would not test. I personally would not take a watch really into water that did not have a screw-down crown. I think if you did do that, you would be fine. And it definitely will withstand, rain, shower, things like that. Again, though, without a screw-down crown, I really wouldn't take too many risks on that. Now, the most of the case here, as you can see, is brushed along these sides here. This bezel here is polished, and also the crown is polished, except for this etching here. And, I think that's really nice. It definitely is subtle. It's not super flashy or anything like that. Yet, again, when you come closer to the watch, you really see that Victorinox put thought into the watch. And there's really good quality, good value for the money. And that same kind of pattern, you'll really note that all around the watch. It's practical, it's not flashy, and it just has a very kind of nice utilitarian feel about it, while still being, a refined watch. The lugs are very comfortable. You can see here that they're kind of a very gentle curve to them. It's really a very comfortable watch to wear, all in all. And, the 40mm size, in my opinion, is really nice. It's really pleasant. And it's just a great all-around size, especially for a watch like this. It's not really a true sports watch. And it's obviously not a dress watch, It's just a kind of a casual, everyday watch. I think it takes a lot of its kind of aesthetic from maybe a field watch, yet it kind of dresses it up a little bit. It's a little more pizzazz to it, which is really nice. Let me give you here a quick look at the movement. There is also a display back, obviously. So there you can see the movement. There is the signing, obviously, on the rotor that I was talking about. And there's just some, basic text on the back. Stainless steel, sapphire crystal, Swiss made, water resistant 100 meters. There's the, the model number, which is actually on this other side here. Oh, it's actually right down there. 241370, or the reference number. And also the serial number on the other side. Which again is really nice to see those kind of things at this price. So what we're going to talk about now is a little bit the face, because I think again that's a very interesting aspect of the watch. You'll see here that it is Arabics mostly for the hour markers. There are also, and these are applied, by the way, which again is very nice. The logo here I think is very tasteful. Again, it's that kind of more subtle yet very refined thing about it. And it has the crest up here applied, Victorinox Swiss Army automatic. The text is minimal, gets the job done, and adds a very nice, clean look to the watch. There are also some 24-hour markings here. Obviously, they're not up here where the logo is. And then again, there are 60, it might be hard to see this, but there are markings here on the chapter ring for 60, 30, 15, and 45, and then marks here for individual seconds. And interestingly enough, I'm not entirely sure why, between 60 and 15, they're separated much tighter. Again, I'm not really sure that has a utilitarian purpose, but it is, it doesn't bother me in any way. It does add an interesting element to the watch when you take a closer look. So as I mentioned earlier, I think that some of the inspiration of this watch comes from a field watch, and they make it just a little bit more dressy, a little bit more, refined looking, with some of the polishing and applied numerals, applied logo. It's very tastefully done. This, exposed date wheel here, again, I think it kind of goes back to the idea that they're trying to bring just a little more character into what would ordinarily be more of just a regular kind of field watch, And the Victorinox Officer, not the mechanical, the quartz version, has just a regular date window here at the 6 o'clock framed, and I will put a picture of that up on the screen so you can see how that would look. But it doesn't bother me. Now, my main complaint about the face of the watch, and that is the lack of loom. The only loom we get is on the minute hand and the hour hand. That's it. And that loom is fairly decent. It's a Super Luminova, not great. It would be okay if there were some other markings. At the minimum, I would have liked to see this white kind of section here of the crest be loom. That would have made it much easier to tell the time at night. And I don't think it would have cost them that much, and I would have been definitely willing to pay more for it. And I think most consumers who know a bit about watches would too. So that is a little bit of a letdown, the loom. Obviously no markings around here. Now there is a version similar to this which does have some markings here around the hours. I believe that only comes in a quartz, and I'll also put up a photo of that one so you can see how that looks. But again, you can tell the time at night, but it definitely takes a while. It's not easy. Ultimately though, you're getting such good value in other things, sapphire crystal, Swiss ETA movement, a full solid link bracelet, solid end links, things that you really usually do not see in a watch under $300. So I think that is excusable. If you're looking for really good loom, get a Seiko, get an Orange Monster. That's the better option. But I really, really think that the value on this watch is just outstanding. And so far, it's been performing really great, gotten a lot of first time. It's comfortable, it's easy to wear. You can really wear it with, today you can wear it with anything, really. And so I think that's just a nice attribute. And it's just a great all-around watch, I would say, especially for this price. So now that we've taken a look at the watch itself, I just want to summarize the whole thing. I think the Victorinox Officer Mechanical is a great value for the money. For under $300, you're getting a Swiss-made automatic with an ETA, sapphire crystal, full solid link bracelet. And that's, there's not a lot out there in that competition. The nearest thing I could think of would be something, like a Hamilton khaki, that's really about it, Yeah, you can find some other things, but I think this is really, you're not going to find something much better, or better at all, than this for that price range. So in that perspective, I think it's a great buy, and I really would recommend it. My only complaints are, as I mentioned, the loom is not very great, and I would have liked to see a screw-down crown. It doesn't surprise me that they don't put a screw-down crown on a watch like that, and is it really needed? That's debatable. My point is simply that I would have liked to see it. The other point is that you're buying a watch from a brand that, really has a lot of history. Of course, it doesn't have that much history really at all in watches, but it does have a lot of history in the brand itself. It's been around for a long time. And, ultimately, people do, when they hear Victorinox, probably think of Swiss Army knives, firstly. But that doesn't really take away from the fact that you're getting a great quality, Swiss-made mechanical watch under $300. And people are buying, Chinese-made you know, gold, fake gold, gold-plated, whatever you want to call it, it's all fake. Michael Kors watches and, you know, disgusting monstrosities like those for $300 too. And here you're getting a real quality watch. And to find an ETA 2024-2 in a watch under $300 is a steal. I mean, Hamilton khakis also use the same movement and they're not much more expensive, you know. But to be honest, I really do like this watch. Nothing against Hamilton. I do really like Hamilton also. But this is really a great watch, and I do highly recommend it. So I hope you've enjoyed the review and maybe learned a thing about this watch or Victorinox, the brand in general. If you have a question, comment, inquiry, any of the above, please leave them below. If you liked the video, please leave a like and or subscribe. Thank you very much, and I'll be making a new video very soon. Stay tuned.